Hey there, and welcome to another episode of the podcast. Today, you'll hear my conversation with a New Orleans personal injury lawyer named Lee Rudin, who explains how he uses technology to run a much more efficient and profitable law practice. In this session, he discusses some key tools that he relies on, such as Text Expander, FileVine, and an AI service for personal injury lawyers called Demands AI. These tools enable him to streamline his practice and communicate more effectively with clients and prospective clients. You'll also hear him explain how he leverages virtual assistants to save money and improve the quality of his services. So that's coming up in a bit. And now let's quickly talk about how your phones get answered. I hope you're not answering your own phone, but if you are, why not outsource this to experts who can do the job better at an affordable cost? That's what I did in my law practice, and I did so using a service called Smith AI. Smith is an amazing virtual receptionist service that I continue to use and depend on. I know firsthand how professional and helpful they are. They work with many different kinds of small businesses, but they specialize in working with solo and small law firms. When you work with Smith AI, you get access to well-trained, friendly receptionists who can respond to callers in English or Spanish. They can screen callers, create appointments for new prospects, and a host of other helpful services. Smith's friendly receptionist will answer your phones 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. Like I said, truly amazing. But they don't just handle phone calls. They also have AI-powered live agents and chatbots to deal with inquiries coming in via your website, text message, or even Facebook Messenger. So if there's one simple but powerful outsourcing opportunity for your practice, this is it. You can let Smith have your back while you focus on work, knowing that your clients and prospective clients will be well taken care of. Smith's plans start at $292 a month for calls, and they offer a 14-day money-back guarantee. So if you don't like the service, you can get a full refund within the first 14 days. Smith offers a special deal to podcast listeners like you, so you get an extra $100 discount when you sign up for one of their paid plans if you use the promo code ERNIE100. That's ERNIE 100. Okay, now let's meet Lee Rudin and find out how he uses technology and virtual assistants to improve the quality of his services and be more competitive. All right, Lee, welcome to the podcast.
Ernie, good to see you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, good to see you virtually. You know, we've seen each other in person at our barber and also at
Frank
Frankie
D'Angiotti's, right?
Johnny's famous
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, well, I know you and you know me, but the listeners to this podcast do not know you. So why don't you walk us through your background as a lawyer, how you got into law, any of that kind of stuff that you want to share?
Sure. Fun stuff, right? All that fun stuff. No,
Yeah,
I came out of school. I went to Tulane. I'm originally from New Jersey. I was a transplant down here the day before Hurricane Katrina, evacuated with the rest of the city, and decided I'd committed all this time to decide to be in New Orleans and said, I gotta go back. So I came back January of
hmm
06, went to Tulane through 09. Loved the city, couldn't find a reason to leave. So I stayed at Tulane Law.
hmm
And, as many students do, you find a defense job because those are the ones that pay you well. And, they
right.
say that's a good way to learn. And I do believe that. And I was a
hmm
defense lawyer with a little sprinkling of some plaintiff work from the start of my career. I worked at a firm,
hmm
and in my first year, that firm that had been together almost 30 years had a divorce. So I left. I stayed in the same building, but we went on a Friday night. We took all of our crap down the elevator bank, walked across to the other elevator bank, and brought it up 7 floors to a new firm. And I stayed at that firm
hmm
for about 7 years. And then 2 weeks before the pandemic shut everything down, I joined a new firm. So my timing is pretty epic on that front. And I
hmm
stayed at that firm until June 1 of 2023 when I launched RUDIN Law. And we are
Cool.
predominantly, now we are exclusively a plaintiff personal injury firm. But when I launched, I was a bit of a hybrid.
Mhm. So one thing that I picked up about you pretty quickly is that you're very entrepreneurial. You're willing to experiment with things. and figure things out. And that's going to lead us into a discussion about technology, which of course is the dominant topic here on this podcast. So why don't you tell us, do you have a background like in technology that I don't know about? Were you like secretly a computer geek or
I
something?
feel like if I was a computer geek combined with doing what I should have done, which is go to business school, I'd be sitting a lot more comfortably here right now as an entrepreneur. But
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not afraid to try to learn it. And I'm also
Mhm,
not afraid to know what I don't know, uh, lean on
mhm,
people that do. So oftentimes I'm having conversations with folks, with you and folks like you saying, hey, you think
mhm,
the best solution is for this problem? I know I have a, I don't know how to
mhm,
solve it. And so I've given
mhm.
different advice on different tools and trying, trying it out. If it works for me, take it. If it doesn't, discard it and try to find something else.
Right. And you know what? That is the golden mean. That is like the perfect approach to have, which unfortunately not enough lawyers have, especially those in solo and small firm practices. I get it that it's hard. I get it that it has to take time, but I mean, you do have to take the bull by the horns, and obviously you have done that. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about your kind of go-to tools or things that you use that are tech enabled, because some things that are tech enabled are not per se tools like outsourcing. And I know you do some outsourcing, but like, when you look at your practice, what's making it hum that depends on technology?
Yeah, well, one of the tools we talked about offline, and I think I stole from you, is I use Text Expander, which is a tool that,
Hmm.
if I'm at a networking event or at a cocktail party, I love to throw out to people because it's super inexpensive. So it's a great low
Hmm.
barrier to entry to show people, what you can really do to capture those couple seconds, a minute of your
Hmm.
time. And,
Hmm.
obviously, en masse, the amount of value you take back is immense.
Hmm.
So that's one
Hmm.
tool. One of the things that we're trying to do, I'm in the process of working through it, is I've created customer journey videos for my clients to try to preempt certain
Nice.
questions and give them information that I know they're going to need and I know they're going to ask for to hopefully build some connection. And so you don't get, which is, the number one complaint about lawyers is I never hear from my lawyer. I don't know what's going on,
Right.
valid or invalid. So now I'm toying with a
Hmm.
couple different tools about how to disseminate those. There's
Hmm.
platforms that do client portal work, but I
Right.
mean, it's the amount of phone calls you get or the
Yeah.
heavy texter to be able to
Right.
preempt that question because you've given them a video, which doesn't take you but a couple of
Right.
minutes, is awesome.
Right. So what about practice management software? Do you use
I
that?
do. I use FileVine. And
Okay.
so I have FileVine as my core component. We just stacked Lead Docket on top of it to
Hmm.
capture all the leads through different lead generating sources. I also added a tool called Domo or Periscope, which is their dashboarding tool, because I felt like I
Hmm.
kind of needed that scoreboard to tell me
Hmm.
where the bottlenecks might exist and then figure out, akin to your first comment about outsourcing or technology, what do I need to resolve the bottleneck?
Hmm.
And I've messed around with a bunch of the AI drafting tools for demands.
Yeah. Okay.
I have strong opinions
Okay.
on that.
Let's hear
All
it.
right. So, this is what I said to one of the vendors who I think highly of. I said,
Uh-huh.
when I was on the defense side and I saw my first AI demand, I said, what the heck is this? It's 38 pages of junk. And the first page and the last page are all that I really give a crap about.
Hmm.
So, but it is a useful tool because if you don't have, for example, the medical chronology at your fingertips, then it can provide that for you. These tools are getting really good. And so, the ones where you can tag a particular document or it asks you to upload, I do car accident work. So it asks you to upload maybe a brief description of the accident or the police report, and then it knows where to plug that in. I think that's awesome. Um,
And wait, what's the name of that one?
so I'm using a tool called Demands AI.
Okay.
That's kind of through the LegalSoft universe. That's one of their tools.
Okay.
I
Okay.
looked at it about a year ago and I was not impressed. And then
Hmm.
I toyed with it again recently and it was much better, much, much better.
Hmm.
And I have another tool that I'm using to do medical chronologies and medical summaries called LawPro AI.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
that was built by a guy out of a firm in the DC area, the Baltimore, DC area that I know. It's cool because once you establish the data loss and the injury type, then when you dump
Mm-hmm.
those records in, it'll flag what it deems to be red flags, some of which are
Mm-hmm.
accident related, some of which are, such and such indicated he drinks alcohol. And I joked to the vendor, I said, I think it would be a red flag in New Orleans if he indicated he didn't drink the alcohol.
Especially around
That's
Mardi Gras.
right. That's right. Jazz Fest too.
Yeah. All right. So AI tools. What about the non-legal specific ones? Have you messed around with ChatGPT, Perplexity, Google Notebook LM? What
Yeah.
have you messed around
I,
with there?
I'm, I hedge toward Gemini because I live
Mm-hmm.
in the Google universe. And,
Mm-hmm.
when all the horror stories were coming out about lawyers and AI, I said, when I learned what ChatGPT had as its database and repository, and I saw what
Mm-hmm.
Gemini had, I said, maybe Gemini will be a little bit better because it has
Mm-hmm.
the Google database behind it. And I
Mm-hmm.
found that to be, it's a good tool.
Mm-hmm.
Like I use Lexis as my research platform. It has a pretty
Mm-hmm.
decent AI tool. Before
Mm-hmm.
that, I used a tool that Westlaw ended up buying. And I'm totally blanking on the name, but I thought that was an interesting legal research tool.
The co-counsel thing.
Co-counsel. Yeah. I
Yeah.
thought it was neat,
Um.
but
s-
I want to answer your question and I didn't do it.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
love
Go for it.
Claude.
Oh, Plod. That's right. We did. I think we talked about this at Frankie and
Yeah.
Johnny's. Okay. So you're using that little
I,
the thin thing that you slap on the back of your
yeah.
phone.
And you know why I
Plod.
like it?
Yeah.
I can't say it's the most efficient thing, but I think I figured out the solution for that. So I use a Remarkable, which is not an AI
Hmm.
tool, and I use Plod.
Yeah.
And what
Okay.
becomes the sticky part is how do you get it off of those two
Hmm.
devices? And I think
Yeah.
that's just a systems thing. So I've now said I need to
Hmm.
get my executive assistant every day, just sync them. If I have a new note or a
Hmm.
new Plod recording and transcript, pull it off, put it where it belongs.
Hmm. Hmm.
If you do that, then maybe you're not leaving them on the device. But the thing that's cool about Plod is if I'm driving in a car and you and I are having a conversation, I can just hit
Hmm.
record on Plod where I might not otherwise be able to do it on my phone.
Yeah. You're the second lawyer who's talked about this use case of it, and the other one is a fellow who's in my inner circle. He's based out of Indiana, and he loves the Plod thing for exactly that reason because he has to drive a lot, and he said he doesn't want to tie up his phone, and he swears by it. He also has a Remarkable and swears by that as well, which I do, and I like the Remarkable. But yeah, so I want to highlight something you said because when you said I'm going to get my assistant, yeah, I have my assistant do it. See, your mindset is if I can do it, maybe I can train somebody else to do it, and apparently that works, right? And I feel like I get stuck in first gear with a lot of lawyers trying to help them. Like, look, just figure out how to do it yourself, only so that you can tell somebody else how to do it and know, whether there are roadblocks and so forth. So kudos to
Thanks.
you for plowing through those roadblocks.
Look, Ernie, we talked offline. I am a huge proponent of virtual staffing because I
Yeah.
think that it's super efficient and you've got these
Hmm.
brilliant people working all across the globe that maybe don't demand the same economic compensation that we do in the US
Hmm.
because of cost of living
Hmm.
adjustments. And
Hmm.
we live in a global world with technology. You can
Yep.
get them to do all these things. You just got to sync them up.
Yep. So walk us through how you built up your virtual team and who all the virtual team is.
Yeah. So I have, we're a team of 8 currently, 3 local, 5 virtual. My
Hmm.
virtual team is based in Central and South America because I thought it was important to
Hmm.
have a bilingual team because my client base is bilingual. And
Hmm.
so I have folks that they're my kind of my first line of defense. They handle inbound and outbound calls, talking to new
Hmm.
clients. Their English is excellent. You wouldn't know that they don't live down on Williams Boulevard in Kenner as much as they live in
Uh-huh.
Nicaragua and Medellin, Colombia, and in El Salvador.
Is that through Get Staffed Up by any
It's
chance?
not, but I've talked. to the folks that get staffed
Okay.
up. And, the only thing,
Yeah.
my only hesitation with get staffed up was, they're like, hey, you got to pay us, but you might not hire somebody. I said, well, wait a minute.
Right.
What if you don't bring me talent?
Right.
So what I did though, my last two hires who I love, I ended up finding them on Upwork.
Okay.
And, as long as you kind of know what to ask, and then you have your verifying Google Meet chat or whatever you do,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not hiring
Mm-hmm.
after one meeting, but maybe after two or three, and you really can vet them,
Mm-hmm.
then it's just a matter of
Mm-hmm.
working the logistics of how they get paid. And there's tools for that as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So once you solve the problem, you can really rinse and repeat.
Yeah. And did you develop like a SOP for kind of things you'd ask questions about and so forth?
I, Not 100%, because the roles that I
Mhm.
was trying to fill, I thought it was more important. So a lot of these were my intake type roles. And I thought it was
Mhm.
very important
Mhm.
that these folks have sales type experience or the
Mhm.
ability to sell. And so it's more so
Mhm.
having that conversation, because I can teach you personal injury and kind of the
Mhm.
specifics that you got to ask for to make sure it's a
Mhm.
valid case. But I can't teach you
Mhm.
to be hungry and to connect with people and be empathetic. And
Mhm.
I found a lot of times when I would talk to a vendor and they said, oh, we have all these folks who got customer service training from Apple or
Mhm.
Nike or you
Mhm.
name it.
Right. Right.
And
Right.
I'm like, I don't want customer service training. I want sales training.
Yeah. Right. Well, that's interesting. Yeah, I think you hit a nail on the head that a lot of people have trouble with around the whole getting of a VA. And I've seen this all grow. Like, from when Tim Ferriss wrote his book and talked about it along with Tom Friedman. And back then, it was the stone age of outsourcing. And then a lot of lawyers are like hesitant. Now they're all in. But the problem with hiring through a company is exactly what you said. You're paying a lot for them just to find that person. And then some of them say, okay, well, you pay us and we'll pay them, right? We'll solve the problem of, payment. And either way, the person, well, if you're paying them on an ongoing basis, then the person you're hiring is not getting paid what you would happily pay them because the other person's taking a cut.
Right.
And that's what I did with my VA. I was like, look, she came to me and I just said, fine, I'll pay you more than they're paying you. I'll pay you less than I'm paying them. It was a happy medium and we were all good. But you got to figure all that stuff out. But I will say, and I'm sure you'll agree, that once you start getting people like that can help you, you start realizing you really need more help than you thought you did, or, you really fully understood. And then you're like, wow, forget technology. This is what I need is other humans that are eager to work
Yeah.
and,
Look,
love the job.
Ernie, I've been exploring this with my team, and I don't know that I have the lead volume yet, but,
Mhm.
and I have to figure out how to construct the conveyor belt the right way. But we're talking about
Mhm.
demands. I said, wouldn't it be
Mhm.
great if I had a team member in South Africa or one in
Mhm.
Asia, and I gave them work at 6 p.m. They worked their own hours. And by the time 6 a.m.
Mhm.
rolled around, I had the documents, whether it was forms that
Mhm.
had to be filled or documents drafted, that a human needs to at least look at,
Yeah.
are ready to
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. Yeah. Exploiting the massive time difference. And that's something that actually Lee Rosen, I don't know if you know Lee
Yeah.
Rosen, but he was a visionary, did family law practice in North Carolina. And, he did really well, sold his practice, and now he travels all over the world and, coaches lawyers around the world. But that was one of the things he was preaching earlier. It was like, look, if you're going to do outsourcing, get people in a radically different time zones so that somebody's always working. So the firm is working 24/7. It's just not you working 24/7, right?
The hardest part of
That's
it,
the key.
the hardest part is the training of the
Yeah.
person. So maybe that's an instance where you're
Yeah.
comfortable that a Get Staffed Up or another vendor really does train
Mm-hmm.
them, because a lot of times you get training and it's somewhat superficial,
Mm-hmm.
and but you don't know it until you're pretty deep in with the person. So,
Right.
maybe it's somebody that was working at another firm and they got laid off because the firm just didn't have the volume, but they have quality training and they're quality individuals, and you just get lucky enough to grab them.
Right. So what are the key tools that you use to keep everybody in sync communication wise and coordinating by giving them direction? I can think of two or three that most lawyers who do this use, and I want to see if you're going to mention at least two
So I'm
of
going
them.
to tell you the one that I don't use that I know a lot of folks use is a lot of people are on Slack.
Uh-huh.
We don't use Slack. We're
Okay.
in the Google universe. So we've got
Okay.
different Google groups for my client development
Uh-huh.
team, which I call the intake. Those are the intake guys.
Yeah.
I've got my client advocates who are kind of my case management team, the pre-lit legal side.
Right.
So they've each got individual Google groups. We all have
But that's just, you're just using a different tool to do the same thing that Slack
I know.
does, just like people use Microsoft
Yeah.
Teams. But yeah, okay. So it's that tool, but you're picking, the Google version, which is what you should do, because if that's your
Right.
ecosystem, stay in your ecosystem as much as you can. Okay. So I'll check one.
All
You
right.
answered
I'll
one.
take
Just
it. So
pick the
I use
all right.
that. Our voice over IP system is Ring Central. Ring
Okay.
Central does call recording. All of my videos get recorded.
Mm-hmm.
All the team members were familiar with Ring
Mm-hmm.
Central from working elsewhere. So that was very
Mm-hmm.
easy. It's got the phone app. It's got the computer app. So we use that as our phone system. We are in Filevine. So what I'm trying to
Mm-hmm.
do, this is a new endeavor. So I'm trying to declutter everybody's inbox. I'm trying to
Yeah.
avoid assignments being passed through email,
Mm-hmm.
and let's pass them through
Mm-hmm.
the case management system, because there's a tasking component.
Yeah.
So that's what we're
Yeah.
moving towards it.
Okay. That makes sense. Yeah. If you can use a practice management system, see what it can do to help you stay coordinated. And if it has, chat or whatever built in, then use
Right.
that. Okay. So you haven't mentioned the other one, Loom. You don't use Loom?
I use Loom in a limited capacity. And that's
Okay.
really
But you use
that's
it.
a me problem, because
Okay.
when I do use it, I like it and it's helpful for the
Uh-huh.
team. And I really need to do
Mm-hmm.
it in terms of educating folks how to do certain things and saving the Loom
Mm-hmm.
videos in perpetuity.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah. That would be the one piece of advice I'd give you. And I'd say that one of the eye openers for me was when I listened to Tim Ferriss' podcast he had with a guy named Sam Korkos, who is one of these go-getter people, developer, hard charging, super organized, has a team that's all remotely distributed. And he has 4 full-time VAs that he hired through a company called Athena.
Mhm.
But the way he manages them is through Loom. And what he said blew Tim Ferriss away. Of course, it definitely blew me away. But he's like, I just sit there, if I'm doing something and I just record myself doing it with a Loom video. Sometimes it'll be 4 hours long. It'll be a work session. And he goes, and then I give it to one of my VAs and I go, look at this and tell me what you could take over from me. Right. And Tim Ferriss like, whoa, that I wouldn't have thought of that. I thought same thing. And I had a tendency to overthink and put the brakes on creating Loom videos. And then I was like, brakes off, just start recording them. And I've just like, I make Loom videos like I brush my teeth, just boom, done. And the more you do them, the faster you get. So I would challenge you or urge you to think about that, because that could reduce a lot of friction in terms of giving people instructions. And when you bring a new person on board, I had done this already. And when the new person came on, I was like, look, you're going to go and organize these Loom videos because they've gotten kind of out of hand. And while you're doing that, just watch the ones that relate to your job. And she was onboarded easily in a month.
Yeah, I like the concept, and I've talked about it before. A lot of this is
Yeah.
great
Okay.
ideas and then executing.
Yeah.
Where's the time in the day to record the videos that I want to record?
Okay.
Right. But
All right. We found your
that's
kryptonite.
it. Big ideas. I need an implementer, Ernie. You got an implementer you can pass me on to?
I do. I actually do. I have somebody, I'll mention it to you. I'll tell you the name afterwards,
Yeah.
but, it's somebody local too.
Like
All
that.
right. So, what else do I want to know about? Marketing, like what comes into play as far as technology with your marketing? You mentioned videos.
Oh yeah, we
What else?
the office out there. So I'm in an office on Veterans Boulevard that I got because of the location and the ability to throw a big old sign on the side of the building and let people know
Mhm.
who I was
Mhm.
and where I was. We have a massive
Mhm.
green screen. So I have a
Mhm.
videographer come in 3 hours once a month. We record
Mhm.
8 to 12 videos. It gets shipped off to South America, to Asia with a company. They edit everything. It comes back to me. I look at it, and then it gets mass posted by the company.
Mhm.
So that's what we're
Mhm.
doing in terms of
Nice.
social media. I would say
Mhm.
that's more brand awareness stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I've got some ads running on Meta that I wouldn't say are necessarily technological, but a
Mhm.
vendor out of California that said, we've
Mhm.
got what we think works in running motor
Mhm.
vehicle soliciting ads. because a lot of times you
Mm-hmm.
run these ads and you get all sorts of junk, but
Mm-hmm.
these guys have done a really good job of getting me
Mm-hmm.
motor vehicle specific leads. So I'm impressed.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm going to put a link to your website so that everybody can check it out. But I'll say that as somebody who's been screwing around with websites, since, the dawn of time, as far as the internet's concerned, and then learning marketing, your messaging is exceptional and your website is exceptional. Your videos, especially your Instagram videos, which I can no longer see because I got kicked off of every Facebook platform for reasons that I don't understand and don't care about anymore because I'm happy to be free of that. But your videos were all really good. Your messaging is really good. It's really tight. And so is that something you learned on your own or where did you get good at all?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't come from a creative background, but I've always loved. I remember like writing silly parody songs in a composition
Mm,
notebook, like with an iPod or a
mm,
Discman, just like trying to be clever and
mm,
funny. And I think one of the things I love about being a lawyer is, watching a stand-up comedian is the grasp of the
mm,
English language and the way
mm,
to
mm,
really deliver with tone and pacing and just word choice.
mm,
And,
mm,
I said when I launched this firm and I knew I was going to really lean into being a plaintiff personal injury lawyer, I said, in what business would you go into business and not tell anybody what you do? And lawyers do
right.
that crap all the time.
Oh, I know.
And I said, if I'm going to
I
do
know.
it, then I'm really going to do it and I'm going to have a lot of fun with it. And if people are going to dislike it, they were going to dislike me anyway, but I'm going to have fun
Right.
and hopefully entertain. And they might say, I'm going to hire that creative lawyer over there because
Right.
maybe he'll beat the boring guy.
Right. Yeah, that's one of the things in marketing, and I kind of had that when because I was, I'm not naturally aggressive about selling. Like if people don't want something, I'm like, fine, whatever. But and you don't have to be aggressive, but you do have to understand that you need to be very clear about what you stand for and what you stand against. And when you do that, there are going to be people who are going to go, "What? You stand for that and against that? Screw you! I don't like you." And so if you're not going to say it, you're not going to be effective. And I remember Dan Kennedy, who, uh, I don't think I would love him. I know I don't wouldn't love him as a person to hang out with. We're different, but I don't use that as a criteria to decide whether the person's making sense or not. And he definitely makes a lot of sense with marketing. But one of the things he would always say is like, if you're not pissing off two or three people a day with your marketing, you're not doing it right. And he just meant like, if you're pulling punches, you're not doing it right. You just got to say what you mean and say what matters to you. And for those people that are your clients for whom that matters a lot, they're going to connect with you really strongly. And those are going to be great clients because you're going to get along well. And if you had this tepid relationship, it's not going to be good for anybody. So you got to be bold. And besides, we're lawyers, right? So if you're afraid of things, you maybe shouldn't be a
It's
lawyer.
funny. Today is, we're obviously going to record this, but today happens to be kind to a lawyer day. Well, I got
Oh,
all
who
these
knew?
vendors sending me, oh, it's International Be Kind to a Lawyer Day. And I was like, perfect. Fuck that. Be kind to a lawyer. No, you gotta push back. I don't need your kindness.
Right,
I have no patience
right,
for that. And,
right,
this whole brand, look, it's easy. My last name is Rudin. So I get rude worked, but it only
right.
worked because of the industry we're in and that everybody's got a story about how they were scorned by an
Yeah,
insurance company.
yeah.
So
Well, I appreciate you coming on and sharing all that. I'm going to put a link to your website. Is there anywhere else you would want people who are listening, who are lawyers, fellow lawyers, to go check you out now that you've given them such great advice?
sure.
So that in the future, if they think of a lawyer they need in New Orleans who does what you do, they'll reach out to you.
Absolutely.
Where would they
Well,
find
first of
you?
all, everybody, if you need anything, holler. I love
Hmm.
what I'm doing. I'm loving growing this business. I'm happy to help anybody, tell them what mistakes I've made, ways that I've succeeded. I just think that a rising tide lifts all boats. And when I came out, I had people that were very generous with their time, with their office space, with their ideas, and I can't thank them enough. And so I want to pay that forward. You can find me
Hmm.
at getrude.com. We just bought the toll-free number, 833-GET-RUDE. Our
Nice.
Instagram is at Instagram, TikTok, YouTube is at Get Rude Law. I am the sponsor locally of Wildcat Sports Independent Pro Wrestling. So if you want to come check out a wrestling event,
How on brand.
oh, it's so good. They do
Nice.
a great job. It's great people. Ernie, you got to come out to an event. We got one May 31st.
I'd love
Yeah,
to.
you're
Oh,
in.
I will. Oh, for
Put you on
sure.
my list.
Yeah. Sweet.
No, it's awesome. It's a lot of fun. You know, you just get to see regular people having a really good time about something they love. Yeah,
Nice. Nice. All right. Well, man, thank you so
my
much. I really
pleasure.
appreciate
So
it.
good to see you, Ernie.
All right.